development of male gametophyte. Alright. So you have learned about how microsporogenesis occurs and pollen grains would develop. And at first when they develop, there will be 4 pollen grains sticking to one another in the form of tetrads. And finally, as they separate, they will be in the uninucleate state, isn't it? The individual pollen grains, once they are separated from the tetrad, they will be in the uninucleate state, right? We have discussed the structure of pollen grain also in details. Now, do remember one important thing. As soon as or immediately after the formation of pollen grain, it might be in a uninucleate state, but before it is released from the anther, it is going to be either in 2-celled or 3-cell stage. So that's why the development of the pollen grain or the male gametophyte is precocious in nature. Means it will start inside the microsporangia itself. Alright. So we can divide this discussion that we are going to do today under 2 distinct topics, that is pre-pollination development and of course then post-pollination development. In pre-pollination development, we'll discuss how the pollen grain will develop being inside the anther before it has undergone pollination. And in post-pollination development, we are going to discuss that what are the changes or what are the kind of situations that will arise after the pollen grain has been liberated from the anther. So pre-pollination and post-pollination development. So let us start with the first one, that is pre-pollination development. Now you already know the structure of pollen grain is going to be like this. As it is first developed, isn't it? A uninucleate cell. It has a large prominent nucleus at the center and a dense cytoplasm in the surrounding. Now, first, this being the cell wall or the sporoderm, let me refer it as one cell stage so that you can differentiate later on. So at first what would happen, you see, the pollen grain, as it keeps on taking nourishment or nutrition, it will start to develop or it will start to swell up. And as it starts to grow, a vacuole will also start forming inside the cytoplasm of the pollen grain. So this is the vacuole. A vacuole which has been centrally formed. So if a vacuole starts to form at the center, of course the material or the nucleus that was at the center cannot remain there anymore. It has to be pushed now towards the periphery. So the nucleus comes and it joins with the, or it comes to the periphery and joins with the plasma membrane. Alright. Now, being sticking to the membrane, the cell now will start to divide. There will be one mitosis that will start happening inside the pollen grain, and this mitosis will divide the protoplasm into 2 unequal halves. Okay, that means this nucleus will first undergo one round of nuclear division, karyokinesis, and each of the nucleus, okay, let me show you in a different manner. Say, this is the pollen grain, this being the vacuole, this being the sporoderm. Now here the nucleus is sticking, isn't it? The nucleus will undergo one round of nuclear division here. These are the spindle fibers, so this is another nucleus that has been born. So karyokinesis has occurred, fine. After the karyokinesis is done with, now each of the nucleus would start getting surrounded by cytoplasm, isn't it? So now that cytokinesis will occur after karyokinesis, this cytokinesis will be unequal, giving rise to two unequal cells. So this will be a oval to spherical cell. This one, the smaller one, this is called the generative cell. Alright, and this nucleus is going to be present in the large mass of the protoplasm, giving rise to a larger cell. We call it vegetative or tube cell. Alright, so let me tell you once again so it becomes clear. First, as soon as after microsporogenesis the pollen grain is developed, it is in the one cell stage because it has one nucleus. Now, as the pollen grain starts getting nourishment, it starts to grow and develop and swell up. Some vacuoles will also start forming in its cytoplasm, pushing the nucleus towards the periphery. Being at the periphery, the nucleus will undergo one round of mitosis, okay, or karyokinesis. And after karyokinesis, the nucleus will get surrounded by cytoplasm, forming two distinct cells. But the karyokinesis is going to be unequal. One of the nucleus will be surrounded by thin, peripheral cytoplasm, whereas the other one will be surrounded by a lot of protoplasm or cytoplasm. So this will give rise to two unequal cells. The smaller cell will be known as generative cell and the larger one will be known as the vegetative or tube cell. Is that clear now? So this is called two-cell stage. Alright, now what will happen, you see? This being the cell wall, alright? Surrounding the generative cell, a callus layer will develop. Callus is a cementing layer and it is made up of beta-1,3-glucan, isn't it? So callus will start forming surrounding the generative cell so that it separates from the wall of the pollen grain. So if it is going to separate from the wall of the pollen grain, later on when the callus will dissolve, okay, it will dissolve, then what would happen? We will get two cells here. The generative cell will be freely floating on top of the protoplasm of the vegetative cell. Okay, that's why we call it two-cell stage. There is a large cell on top of which a smaller cell will remain suspended. That is the generative cell. Alright, now in 60 to 70% of all angiosperms, the pollen grain will be released from the anther in its two-cell stage itself. Fine? But in the rest of the 30 to 40% of plants, this generative cell will undergo another round of mitosis. And that's why when another round of mitosis will be happening in the generative cell. It will not happen in the vegetative cell. It will occur in the generative cell. So generative cell nucleus will undergo another round of karyokinesis, forming two nucleus, and then it will be surrounded by thin peripheral cytoplasm, giving rise to another two haploid cells. So these two cells will be referred as male gametes. So we have here two male gametes and one vegetative or tube cell. So this is called three-cell stage. Three-cell stage of the pollen grain. So in 60 to 70% of all angiosperms, the pollens will be released in two-cell stage, but in the rest of the 30%, it will be released in three-cell stage. Alright. So this is what is pre-pollination development. Alright. Now, post-pollination development. Post Post-pollination development itself means that what would happen to the pollen grains after it has been released from the anther. So let's see what would happen. Suppose this is the structure of carpel, which you have learned so many times in class 11. It consists of three parts: stigma, style, and ovary. Inside the ovary remains the ovule, isn't it? Now, whenever a pollen grain falls into the stigma of the carpel, the vegetative cell or the tube cell will always remain towards the stigma, and the generative cell will remain in the opposite end, okay, towards the upper end. Lower end is vegetative cell, generative cell is towards the upper end. So now, at first, by the help of germ pore, the pollen grain will start secreting certain kind of nutrients or certain kind of, you can say, secretions that are present at the stigma. And by doing so, the vegetative cell will swell up. Okay? It will like absorb certain kind of nutrition from the stigma as soon as it falls on the stigma, and the vegetative cell will swell up. As soon as it swells up, it will release certain kind of proteins from within the pollen grain. From inside the pollen grain, some proteins will come out. And they will accumulate in the groove of the stigma, in this groove. Say this is the stigma, this is the groove of the stigma. Here all these proteins will come and gather. And already certain proteins of the stigma are already present in this groove. So that means here some proteins from the pollen and some proteins from the pistil, they have come together, they will intermingle, and they will decide upon the compatibility of the pollen and the pistil, whether pollen and pistil are compatible or not. Once compatibility is found, only then the pollen tube will germinate. Otherwise, the pollen grain will simply degenerate. Alright? So, suppose compatibility is found. In that case, what would happen? In that case, from the one of the germ pore present in the pollen grain, the pollen tube will arise. The pollen tube has the outer wall of the intine. It's the intine. Okay, that's coming out. And the vegetative cell content, it will be running into the pollen tube. Alright. Now here something important you have to remember. This pollen tube, after it has been formed and after it starts to move inside, it is moving through the style. Right. Now style can be of two types. It can be hollow or it can be solid. In case it is hollow, then pollen tube will simply start moving inside without any problem. But if in case it is solid, then the pollen tube will also keep secreting certain hydrolytic enzymes which will make a passage for the pollen tube to move inside. If the style is solid, in that case the pollen tube simply cannot pass, right? So it has to keep secreting certain hydrolytic enzymes so that the pollen tube can easily now make a passage for itself while it moves through the style. Also, while it moves through the style, the pollen tube is going to take nourishment from the cells of the style. Alright? Now, while the vegetative cell content is moving through the pollen tube, the generative cell content will also run into the pollen tube. As soon as it runs into the pollen tube, suppose this is the vegetative cell nucleus, generative cell nucleus, the generative cell will undergo one round of mitosis. Okay? And as it undergoes one round of mitosis, it will give rise to two prominent nucleus which will get surrounded by thin peripheral cytoplasm. So like this, two male gametes are going to be formed inside the pollen tube. Okay? It will be formed by a single round of mitosis happening in the generative cell. Now do remember, this is going to only happen in case the pollen tube has been, or the pollen grain has been released in two cell stage. If the pollen had been released in 3 already the male gametes are present. So this mitosis won't take place. Alright. So eventually the pollen tube will start moving towards the ovule. Okay. To be more specific, towards the micropyle of the ovule. Because the micropyle will keep secreting certain chemicals. Alright. And due to this, the pollen tube will be able to sense those chemicals, hence it will be able to move towards the micropyle. That's why we say that the movement of pollen tube is always chemotropic in origin. It's always going to move towards the chemical. Alright. Finally, as the pollen tube will enter inside the micropyle, it will penetrate deeper into the embryo sac and it will liberate the two male gametes. Alright, and you already know, as soon as the two male gametes will be released inside the embryo sac, fertilization will take place. Further of details of this event we will be discussing under another topic in the later part of the chapter, that's called pollen pistil interaction. Under that heading we will be discussing this part again into a more details. Okay, so let it be up till this for today's class. In the next class we will discuss about megasporophyll or megasporangia, that is carpel, development of the carpel. About the male reproductive unit we have discussed already. In the next class we will discuss about female reproductive unit present in the flower, that is carpel. Thank you.